Recently, I found out that the lead singer of one of my favorite Chicago bands in the late 60s lives not far away from me. Great, let's go interview him. And no, we can't do that. Okay, well, let's do it remotely. So what we ended up with is doing Zoom. The Zoom thing doesn't work too well. His image is a little grainy, and he's doing a key, and when he moves, his hair kind of, the key doesn't quite work. But the content is great. And I'm talking about the band The Crying Shames. Between 1966 and 1968, they recorded 3 albums. We'll talk to Tom about each one. Let's drop the needle. So let's welcome Tom Doody, the lead singer of The Crying Shames. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bernie, how are you?
When you guys started, were there 5 or 6 of you?
We started as a 5-man band when we played, and we did really, really, really well. We were drawing huge crowds. We would get 1,000 people in a gymnasium that would hold 400. And our manager, he said, I've got a friend. He said he looks like John Lennon, and he doesn't have a hand, so we can fashion a hook to put on it. He can play tambourine. We had like 6 or 7 more jobs, and he just kept showing up. And so we said, well, we can't get rid of him. We might as well make him part of the group.
So, all right. So the original guys, there was you as lead singer.
Right.
Jim Fares as lead guitar.
Right.
Dave Purple.
Dave Purple was the bass player. Jerry Stone was the rhythm guitar player. And Denny Conroy was the drummer. I started out as the lead singer. I was asked if I knew anybody who could sing, and I told Jerry I could. I never had before. I just showed up for a rehearsal. And Dave Purple said, hey, I can play bass. We did the same thing. We had a rehearsal with him, and we put him in the group.
You were mainly kind of a cover band. But
that's how you started out, was covering other people's songs. We had Sugar and Spice, which just took off like crazy.
Right.
And because of that, we got in a couple of big concerts. The first big concert we had was with the Byrds. And we played with the Byrds, and we went on and we did our cover things, Nowhere Man, which sounded really good. And when we got done playing, the Byrds came up to us and said, we enjoyed your set, but let me give you a hint. And the guy that said that was Jim McGuinn, Roger McGuinn.
Right.
He said, unless you do your own songs, you will never do anything. So, literally from that moment on, we started writing our own songs.
Getting signed to Columbia, that was a pretty big deal.
It was a huge deal, especially on the heels of our first song.
So then you went in to record Sugar and Spice.
We did.
The album. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at it just the other day, and the cover, it was shot in Old Town.
Yep, the Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. I remember going into that place.
Did you see the back of the cover? That was the concert with the Byrds.
When you think back on the concerts you played, which was the biggest one?
Well, the biggest one was a series that we did with the Monkees. There were probably 50, 60,000 people at each one of those. We also played one concert. The opening group for us was Jefferson Airplane.
Wow.
And we had about 49 to 50,000 people there, too.
Didn't I also read that the Who opened for you?
They did. They opened for us at the new place in Algonquin. Yeah, we've played with so many people. Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, the Who, Love and Spoonful. We did a tour with them. The Byrds, we played with them a few times. The Association.
Right.
I'm leaving out a bunch.
Now, let's go back to the Sugar and Spice album. When you guys decided to start writing your own songs, which was the first ones that were written?
That was with James Fares when we wrote Ben Franklin's Almanac.
I was going to ask you about that.
I'm looking for something to write. What can it be about? And I said, my favorite thing is there's a poem called Jabberwocky, which is, just basically a bunch of nothing. Just words. And I said, why don't we do something like that? He said, well, kind of like what? And I said, how about Inside Out, How I Feel? And then he said, far and near, can't be real. And I helped with the words, and he wrote the music to it. That was the first one. And then I Want to Meet You, he wrote in a truck on the way back in our van. He wrote this and he taught me the lead part. And we got done with our job and back to Chicago by about 9 o'clock. And at 10 o'clock, we were in the studio recording that song.
We always thought in the band that I was in, we always thought that that song was written about a Playboy playmate.
Yes, it was. And the picture was in the back of the van.
We're talking about all these great songs, and unfortunately, I can't play any of them. And I've looked into YouTube's policies, and I just can't bring it all to life.
And we don't own any of the licensing to our songs.
Wow.
It's all owned by other people.
Right.
And for them to, pull that, not allow you to play songs that we did, is just unconscionable.
Your arrangements are really, really cool.
Well, James Fares was a great songwriter and a great arranger.
And you guys recorded Hey Joe on that album.
Yes, we did.
Of course, everybody recorded Hey Joe.
Absolutely.
But I will say that yours definitely seems like it's hypercharged.
It was hypercharged. You should have seen it. We would open every concert with Hey Joe. Jim Pilster and I had our backs toward the crowd. I had a microphone stand loosened up so I could throw it up and the thing would go way up and I'd catch it. And then all of a sudden Fares on 10 with all the tone knobs all the way up would start with that introduction, on a super showman. And I mean, it would just blow people back. They would back up about 10 feet and then the rest of the band, I'd throw that microphone up and we'd start yelling, Hey Joe, it was something. It really was.
Originally, your first single was going to be If I Needed Someone by Harrison.
Right.
And
we had done that and were ready to release it. And George Harrison put a hold on it because he wanted to release it with the Beatles. So we went and we learned another song the night before we were supposed to record. And it was Sugar and Spice. It was by the Searchers. We tore that apart, and if you hear the Searchers version and you hear our version, they sound like they are in different worlds.
In a future episode, we'll continue my conversation with Tom Doody as we talk about the Crying Shames classic album, the second album, A Scratch in the Sky. If you like this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and keep a rockin'. For more information on the Crying Shames, check out Tom Doody's Crying Shames official Facebook page. You can listen to Sugar and Spice and all the great music by the Crying Shames on any of the streaming music platforms. You can even listen to it on YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't include it in the episode.